Should album sales matter inside of hip hop? When it comes to the conversation about who's the greatest rapper of all time, a lot of people like to point to numbers as a means of justification. And in the wake of information like Young Thug admitting to payola when it comes to Gunna's albums to get it on the charts, we had to ask the question, does numbers matter inside of hip hop? Watching artists like Taylor Swift sell 2 million copies in a singular day, you gotta acknowledge the greatness in that. But I think it's important to note that Taylor Swift is a pop artist, just like a Michael Jackson, who was also a pop artist who sold millions of copies of an album. And I would argue that hip hop is a little different because it's not pop music. It has always been countercultural. When it comes to being the greatest inside of pop music, it is about who sold the most copies of popular music, who amasses the most general public to listen and enjoy that song. This is why numbers matter inside of pop music. However, I would argue that hip hop is countercultural, and it always has been. Hip hop music has always at its core been against the grain, against popular culture, and showcasing a different side of culture, whether black, white, Asian, Hispanic, but it's always showcasing this is what the world looks like from somebody else's lens that nobody wants to talk about. That's why hip hop has always been so close to my heart, because it's not just about the music, it's about the culture that's attached to the music. And that culture looks different from so many different lenses, and that author and storyteller talking about the culture can change from person to person. So when you're arguing who's the greatest inside of hip hop and you mention numbers, because hip hop is countercultural, the numbers really wouldn't be there for somebody who's talking about something that's as big as a cultural shift. Now, that's not to say that hip hop can't be popular or that an album should not be popular to be considered hip hop. But what I am saying is that hip hop is not numbers alone. To me, numbers inside of hip hop is an add-on, that people actually got to hear your message of what you needed to say and maybe left with a new lens on life. But I would argue that if there's a lot of numbers behind an album, but that album is not culturally shifting somebody's lens into something new, and that it's only keeping the status quo of what we already have. And to be honest with you, it's just pop music with a little bit of rap. That's when I say it's hard to consider somebody the greatest inside of that genre, because it's just pop music with a little bit of rap inside. So this is not to say that the numbers don't impact an artist's greatness, because I think it's very much important. However, I would argue that we should be more concerned about the artist's cultural and artistic expression of their music rather than just the numbers themselves. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do numbers really matter in hip hop?